I believe we are just about a minute away from President Obama speaking at the White House Rose Garden about Bowe Bergdahl being picked up today. And we wanted to check in with Aaron McPike, who is at the White House. Aaron, what can we expect?
In the last hour or so, we saw White House Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough arrive at the White House. We expect he will accompany the president as well as Bowe Bergdahl's parents. They've been in Washington. They also arrived to the White House in the last hour or so. Now, what we do know is that, of course, Bowe Bergdahl himself is still in Afghanistan. But what we understand is that at some point he will be brought back to the United States for treatment in a San Antonio medical facility, where then we expect he will be reunited with his parents, who we will see here.
I do want to mention, as you're speaking there, this is the video, the CNN exclusive video that we have of Bowe Bergdahl's parents arriving there at the White House to join the president in the Rose Garden. As we wait for him, Aaron, just very quickly, we may need to interrupt you if he does come out, but just very quickly, talk about a little bit of the controversy about this whole trade that was made to bring Bowe Bergdahl home.
Well, of course, there was an exchange. So Bowe Bergdahl was released in exchange for these 5 detainees at Guantanamo Bay. And back to Afghanistan. No, President Obama, I believe, is coming out, so I'm going to step aside.
Okay. Yes, there is the president walking out. He's going to be speaking there about Bowe Bergdahl, joined by his parents who were in Washington. Let's listen.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. This morning, I called Bob and Jannie Bergdahl and told them that after nearly 5 years in captivity, their son Bowe is coming home. Sergeant Bergdahl has missed birthdays and holidays and the simple moments with family and friends, which all of us take for granted. But while Bowe was gone, he was never forgotten. His parents thought about him and prayed for him every single day, as did his sister Sky, who prayed for his safe return. He wasn't forgotten by his community in Idaho or the military, which rallied. He wasn't forgotten by his country, because the United States of America does not ever leave our men and women in uniform behind. As Commander-in-Chief, I am proud of the service members who recovered Sergeant Bergdahl and brought him safely out of harm's way. As usual, they performed with extraordinary courage and professionalism, and they've made their nation proud. Right now, our top priority is making sure that Bowe gets the care and support that he needs, and that he can be reunited with his family as soon as possible. I'm also grateful for the tireless work of our diplomats and for the cooperation of the government of Qatar in helping to secure Bowe's release. We've worked for several years to achieve this goal, and earlier this week I was able to personally thank the Emir of Qatar for his leadership in helping us get it done. As part of this effort, the United States is transferring 5 detainees from the prison in Guantanamo Bay to Qatar. The Qatari government has given us assurances that it will put in place measures to protect our national security. I also want to express gratitude to the Afghan government, which has always supported our efforts to secure Bowe's release. Going forward, the United States will continue to support an Afghan-led process of reconciliation, which could help secure a hard-earned peace within a sovereign and unified Afghanistan. As I said earlier this week, we're committed to winding down the war in Afghanistan, and we are committed to closing Gitmo. But we also made an ironclad commitment to bring our prisoners of war home. That's who we are as Americans. It's a profound obligation within our military, and today, at least in this instance, it's a promise we've been able to keep. I am mindful, though, that there are many troops who remain missing in the past. That's why we're never going to forget. We're never going to give up our search for service members who remain unaccounted for. We also remain deeply committed to securing the release of American citizens who are unjustly detained abroad and deserve to be reunited with their families, just like the Bergdahls soon will be. Bob and Jannie, today families across America share in the joy that I know you feel. As a parent, I can't imagine the hardship that you guys have gone through. As president, I know that I speak for all Americans when I say we cannot wait for the moment when you are reunited and your son Bowe is back in your arms. So with that, I'd like Bob to have an opportunity to say something, and Jan, if she'd like as well. Please.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who has supported Bowe. He's had a wonderful team everywhere. We will continue to stay strong for Bowe while he recovers. Thank you.
I'd like to say to Bowe right now, who's having trouble speaking English, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Zayabayem. I'm your father, Bowe. The people of Afghanistan, the same. Khalifa al-Thani, the complicated nature of this recovery will never really be comprehended. To each and every single one who affected this in this country, in the service branches, at the State Department, throughout the whole of American government, and around the world at international governments around the world. Thank you so much. We just can't communicate the words this morning when we heard from the President. So we look forward to continuing the recovery of our son, which is going to be a considerable task for our family, and we hope that the media will understand that will keep us very preoccupied in the coming days and weeks as he gets back home to the United States. Thank you all for being here very much.
Thank you, Matt. Wonderful. A good day.
Yes, it's a good day.
And there you have it, a very emotional moment, a very personal moment there between the President and Bob and Jenny, the parents of Bowe Bergdahl, certainly celebrating his return at some point. They will welcome him back into their home, back to the U.S., but certainly very thankful today. Let's talk this over, what we just witnessed there with Barbara Starr, Pentagon correspondent, Bob Baer, CNN national security analyst, and Nick Robertson, our international correspondent, is there joining us as well. Barbara, let me ask you first. I mean, we have followed this case, obviously, since he disappeared in 2009. We've seen the various proof of life pictures and videos. What do you make of that moment there in the Rose Garden with the President?
Well, I thought there were a couple of extremely interesting references, perhaps giving us a little bit of an indication of what the Bergdahls may know about their son's condition at the moment. It seems to me that Mr. Bergdahl, Bowe Bergdahl, was probably speaking a few sentences there in Pashto, but I'll have Bob or Nick correct me on that if I'm wrong. We know that he was trying to learn, he had learned some Pashto and some Arabic phrases to better communicate, he said, with his son's captors, suggesting also in there that he thought maybe Bowe was going to have trouble speaking English again, perhaps after so many years in captivity. Bowe Bergdahl had basically started speaking Pashto or some local language to his captors. His mother, his father, both making references to this being a long recovery ahead, not just physically getting Bowe Bergdahl back to his family, but after 5 years in captivity, basically repatriating him to the United States out of miserable conditions in Pakistan and Afghanistan, in rural, tough mountain areas with enemy forces, people who would have killed him, back to the United States, back to the West, back to safety. So this will be a very long, complicated process. Both of his parents referring to that and asking for privacy from the media, saying that this would now, of course, be their focus to get Bowe all the way back home. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
It certainly was. Let's check in with Erin McPike. She was there in the Rose Garden at the White House. Erin, what did you pick up there in the Rose Garden that maybe we didn't?
Well, obviously it was very emotional, and the Bergdahl parents obviously hesitated a little bit because this has certainly been an emotional day for them, really an emotional process for them, the president as well. And of course, he also expressed some gratitude for the Qataris for their assistance in sort of negotiating this along too. So we don't want to forget that point as well, Randy.
All right, Erin, thank you very much. We want to talk this over more with our panel. Everybody, please stick around, and we'll be right back right after this very quick break. Keep it here on CNN. Welcome back to CNN. We're continuing to follow this breaking news coverage of Bowe Bergdahl, a U.S. Army sergeant now in the hands of the United States. They picked him up, and he is on safe ground. We wanted to continue to talk this over with our folks who are on our panel. We have Bob Baer, who is a CNN security analyst and former CIA operative. Also Nick Robertson, our international correspondent, and Barbara Starr, who is with us from the Pentagon. Bob, let me start with you on this. I want to replay some of the sound from Janie and Bob Bergdahl, who just were in the Rose Garden there with the president. I want to listen to that one more time, hear their comments, then I want to ask you a question about that.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who has supported Bowe. He's had a wonderful team everywhere. We will continue to stay strong for Bowe while he recovers. Thank you.
I'd like to say to Bowe right now, who's having trouble speaking English, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Zayabayem. I'm your father, Bowe. The people of Afghanistan, the same. Khalifa al-Thani, the complicated nature of this recovery will never really be comprehended. To each and every single one who affected this in this country, in the service branches, at the State Department, throughout the whole of American government, and around the world at international governments around the world. Thank you so much. We just can't communicate the words this morning when we heard from the president. So we look forward to continuing the recovery of our son, which is going to be a considerable task for our family, and we hope that the media will understand that will keep us very preoccupied in the coming days and weeks as he gets back home to the United States. Thank you all for being here very much.
So, Bob, what do you make of that? I mean, there he is. He has grown this beard. Bowe's father there with that beard. He's also speaking to him in as Barbara had said before the break, possibly in Pashtun. What do you make of that? What does that say about what Bowe Bergdahl has been through over these years?
Well, what it tells me, first of all, the father said, in the name of the merciful and the compassionate, and Abiyam is I'm your father. That's Dari. But that would be a common expression in Afghanistan. And what tells me that they've spent a lot of time in Afghanistan, and probably Qatar, talking to local officials, convincing them of the justice of this act and that he shouldn't be held. So, I mean, I think we really have to thank a lot of, our allies in the Gulf and in Afghanistan. So I think this was a multiple effort of a lot of people. And I think the family clearly were very, very engaged in this.
And Nick, does it concern you at all that his father was there saying, he probably hasn't spoken much English, or maybe was that a means of survival for him?
I think the human will to survive and the survival instinct and everything we've heard from people who have been held captive before, it is instinctive to, after time, to try to make friends with your captors, to try to make your situation better, to try and find the one who will give you the better food, who will let you out of the room and go to the bathroom when you want to go and not when they want to let you out of the room, all those sorts of things. So the fact that he will very likely have communicated in their language, will have tried to grow to understand them, to play on their sympathies in precisely the same way that his father's doing, by growing his beard, by speaking in a language that the captors, Bowe's captors, could understand. This is his effort to try to connect with Bowe's captors. Bowe will have been doing that for 5 years on the ground, and it will take a long time to put that back together. He will question himself. I mean, this is what we've heard from so many people who have been held captive. And I don't think anyone should underestimate that period of time if anyone ever fully recovers. Back to where they were before, if you will, from that kind of incarceration, and that kind of incarceration from a group of people. We don't know what was happening on a day-to-day basis. Was he being threatened with execution every week before he made the videos? We just don't know these things. Extreme pressure, long-term psychological wearing down for him.
And you can certainly see, Barbara, I mean, that very emotional moment for the parents there. They're obviously, and with good reason, very concerned about their son and his well-being. What do you know about how he is doing at this point?
Well, what we know is after the commandos picked him up on the border, they flew him immediately to a small so-called forward operating base fairly close by in eastern Afghanistan, where he got some initial critical medical check to make sure he was okay, okay enough to move on. Then he went by aircraft to Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. This is the large U.S. military facility north of Kabul. There is a complete military hospital there for both routine and critical care. He is at Bagram tonight, we are told, still getting medical treatment, meeting with a repatriation team, experts in helping people through this process. The belief, the understanding we have within the coming hours, perhaps, if he is cleared by that medical team, he will move on to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. Again, a facility that specializes in repatriation. Not clear that he will have to spend a lot of time there. It will depend on his medical condition. And then we're told they're going to really try and get him back to the United States as quickly as possible. The game plan at this point is to take him to San Antonio, Texas, to Brooke Army Medical Center. Again, a major military medical facility. He can get all the privacy he needs and all the medical care he needs. Randy?
All right, Barbara, Bob, Nick, we want you to stay with us, and Aaron McPike is joining us as well. We will continue to have much more on this. We'll continue this conversation right after a very quick break. We'll join you on the other side.